gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you.
Dat is een rookie error. Yes, alright. Ik zit hier naast met Henry Quickshot. Quickshot is een Europese caster. Trevor Quickshot, can I call you Trevor?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. We had an awesome few matches. However, obviously from the European side, a little bit heartbreaking. Can't complain though. I don't think anybody was expecting Origin to do this well. Let's just start off. Obviously, this is David versus Goliath, and Origin might choke. What is your opinion? Why Origin kind of, fell through the door, or however you would say it, in the last two matches?
Well, for today's series, there was a definite miscommunication in team strategy. There was a few mistakes that were made just with like bad Baron calls or bad pressure on roams. But I think bigger than that, individually we saw mistakes that we don't usually see. Amazing did not have a very good day. His Evelyn in game one was quite weak. His Lee Sin was picking bad fights. Mithy was missing some of his combos. So the guys that usually step up and carry the team had a really difficult day. And I don't know if it was the pressure of the stage, the pressure of SKT, or maybe it just wasn't their day. And unfortunately, those individual mistakes cost them. Like in game one, when they had that big lead, it was bad strategy. And then games 2 and 3 was bad individual plays that made them fall behind.
So one of the most interesting from game one, I thought, was the cannon pick, taking something out of Fnatic's book. Obviously, we didn't see it work. Do you think, in terms of the European team, so Fnatic who's left, we will keep on seeing cannon back? Do you believe the strategy will keep working now against these? We basically only have Korean teams left. Will it keep working against them?
I 100% guarantee it. We've been taking a look at the solo queue champions that everybody's playing. Every single AD carry, all 4, were playing cannon. We know that it's been played in the support role when it's been paired with Kalista, and now we've been seeing it top lane. So I think cannon will raise in value depending on how picks and bans plays out, but I can guarantee Korean teams and Fnatic will be playing cannon for the next few series.
Okay. So we obviously only have 2 regions left, Europe and Korea, and I kind of would like to see, or to know what, in your opinion, are the strengths of each region and how it will, be their advantage for their region to eventually take this entire thing.
Well, it's quite difficult because the teams that are still remaining are very different. SKT are showing all of the best things that the Korean region can provide. Incredibly talented players, incredibly good strategy. Their substitute mid laner Easyhoon is probably better than most starting mid laners here at the World Championship. So this is a team that's got everything. KOO Tigers have shown two different faces. In the group stage, they were incredibly good early game. In the quarterfinals, they were incredibly slow early game. But they show that they don't make a lot of mistakes. So I think the biggest difference between Korea and Europe is Korean teams make fewer punishable mistakes than the likes of Europe, where we've seen Fnatic and Origin be out of position or push a tower over eagerly and get punished for it. So I think the level of mistakes is the biggest difference.
So obviously we don't know the results yet. We obviously are rooting for Fnatic to go through. I would say, at least how I see it, the European region is kind of being very creative this World. I feel they bring out a lot of new picks. And do you feel that Fnatic, with their perhaps having more stronger games overall? Obviously Origin had some older players and had some experience, but Fnatic had obviously some very strong games, obviously an incredible season before this. Do you believe if they would make it to the finals that they could take the game against SKT perhaps?
I've predicted it on my World's Pick'em that Fnatic will win the World Championship, and seeing how strong of a fight Origin put up today, I'm actually more convinced of it. I think Fnatic are a stronger team than Origin in almost every way. I think their players are stronger individually, I think their strategy is better, and I think their preparation is a lot better. So assuming they beat KOO Tigers tomorrow, I think that series can go all the way. I don't think it's going to be like Fnatic are the strong favorites, but I believe Fnatic have an incredibly good shot at beating SKT if they actually make it there.
So I'm actually very glad you're wearing your South African shirt. I grew up most of my youth, actually most of my life, in South Africa.
Okay.
And I have to have a really good friend who used to play at Big Fat Bastards. Yeah. Now I feel this name might be familiar to you. And if I was right, you played Call of Duty.
Yes.
You played as their sniper.
Yes.
My question was, how did you end up from being there in South Africa of all places to eventually go to Germany and shoutcasting for League of Legends?
I'm very surprised you know that. But yes, Big Fat Bastards of BFB was the team that I got invited to play for. I eventually took over and grew the team. We played Battlefield, we played Call of Duty, and we played Command & Conquer. We had 40 guys playing with us, and with playing there, I actually got to travel to Antwerp. I played in Antwerp eSports Festival, got to play in Sydney as well, the Sydney Games. After 4.5 years of Call of Duty, I actually got a bit tired of Call of Duty, and I went, okay, I'm gonna stop now. My brother introduced me to League of Legends, and he taught me how to play the game, and during this whole period, I left South Africa, I moved to the UK, I was looking for work, I found a job in Berlin, was working in Berlin for a while, and the very long story short is while I was working in Berlin, my boss yelled at me because I was playing too much League of Legends and I was watching too much League of Legends. So all I did is talk about this. It was in season 1 times. And my boss said to me, well, why didn't you just make it your effing job? And I went, you know, I couldn't, I went to sleep at night and I couldn't get that line out of my head. So I started to work towards it, and eventually 2 years later, I actually got hired by Riot and became a full-time shoutcaster.
Yo, what an awesome story.
Yeah.
Do you still sometimes keep up with the old BFB crew?
Yes and no. BFB carried on playing for another 2 years quite actively after I left in 2010. But towards the middle of 2012, towards the end of 2012, when the Call of Duty 4 scene had sort of fallen away and most of the guys I played with had moved on to other teams or stopped playing. Unfortunately, the team is actually now sort of fizzled out, and it will just be a very, very good memory for me for like 2006 to 2010. It was a good 4 years.
Do you still remember Dane Hamilton, BFB Jax?
Yes, Jax was my absolute star player. Dane is one of the best guys I've ever met and hung out with. His father is probably the reason I am where I am today, because his father was the manager of a retail store, computer retail store called Incredible Connection.
Yes.
And when we were playing, Dane said, look, my dad runs the store. Do you want to get a sponsorship? Like, talk to him. So I spoke to his dad. His dad introduced me to the boss, who introduced me to the regional boss, who introduced me to like the company boss. And I made a joke with this guy that was like 4 levels up. And I'm like, hey, you know nothing about this. Why don't you give me a job? And he did. And I got this gig and I was working for them, and that gave me experience that then led to my job in Germany, that then led to where I am now. So Jax was my secret weapon. And Dane, I love you. You won me games single-handedly because he was an incredible player, and you've literally just made my night by mentioning that.
It's crazy because I went to high school with him all these years. I've lived at his house when I lived in Cape Town.
No
like,
way.
How small is this world, right? Like, this guy is like one of my closest friends, and they said, yeah, I know Trevor. I'm like, bullshit, bro, bullshit. And like, yeah. I had to confirm this, but it's so great to hear this story because he's a very humble person. So he never told me this story. So I'm so
he is, and he was so loyal. He genuinely was one of the best, like SMG, like frontline players in Call of Duty 4 in the entire country. And when we were playing, we were never the number ones. We were never the SKT, right? Like we would win some games here or there, but we were in like top 4. But we played for fun. I mean, our name was Big Fat Bastards. Like, you know, we played because we liked our company. So many people tried to steal him for their team. So many people try to like take him into their organizations. And every time he's like, you know what? I really like playing with you. I like the environment. And I love the guy. So
yeah, I gotta talk to him again. This is a story I'm not familiar with. What has he been keeping from me?
Yeah.
What region? Are you from where? No, you don't have to.
Johannesburg.
Johannesburg.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was born in Johannesburg. I lived there for 24 years. And after the Football World Cup in 2010, I've left. My parents are from the UK, so I was very lucky to easily get work in Europe by having a British passport.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's almost about it. I'm not gonna say your prediction for tomorrow because you also have Fnatic as first pick. So instead, I would like to ask you, who is your favorite champion?
Probably Varus. I think Varus, he was my main. He got me like all the way up. And I know this is a Netherlands crew and whatnot, so lekker dag verder. Ek kan 'n klein bietjie Afrikaans praat, maar ek's 'n Rooinek. So jammer.
Jammer. Maakt niet uit. Alright, that was it with Trevor Quickshot. Jongens, het was heel gaaf om dit te doen met Trevor. En op naar de volgende interview. Oh, that's great.
I can't believe it. That just made my day. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Beat drops, we on the flow. I'm a dance revolution. Gotta check these moves, check my loose stance. You and